Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dogs and cats, squirrels and lemurs, ghosts and ghouls, raccoons and opossums, and everybody in between. Welcome to CX Riot Radio, where we talk about customer experience and stuff still in a hyper-caffeinated state. And boy, are we hyper-caffeinated today, aren't we? I'm David, I'm the caffeinated CXO, and we are about to go on a journey into the wild world of customer experience, contact centers, company culture, and all kinds of other stuff. Welcome. Before we begin the episode in earnest here, first of all, Ernest Scared Stupid is probably the best Halloween movie ever made. Ever. It has everything. It has trolls. It has Miak. It has everything. All right? But that's not what this show is about. And Halloween's over. It's been over for a couple of weeks. We're just looking at this new thing with this election that we had last week. Wasn't that fun, boys and girls? No. Today, we are going to be talking about QA. Quality assurance. You know, listening to calls. And grading said calls. And a lot of companies get this wrong. So many companies have 10 questions on their little scorecard, right? And it's either a yes or a no. It's binary. Did little Jimmy say this? Did little Susie not say that? Check. And it doesn't take into account things like, tone, efficiency, customer engagement, things like that. Especially if you're on one of those auto QA things. Not auto QA. That one's really good. But like auto, AUTO, QA, the AI quality assurance things, right? Where they can't really listen to the call, so they just go off the transcript. That doesn't seem right to me. That seems counterproductive. A little dumb, if I may be so bold. No. You have to listen to the call. You have to at least get the sentiment scoring of the call, the tone shifts, the emphasization, what they emphasize, right? How their voice flows and how the customer reacts to them and how their voice changes and flows with the conversation. So, and a lot of QA programs don't do that. It's incredibly binary, and that's stupid. Your QA form should be non-binary. Yeah. So, let's talk about what actually works. Not what looks good on paper or is going to give you higher scores by default if they just stick to the script, if you know what I mean. So, contact centers are, like it or love it, they're on the front lines of customer experience. When a customer calls, it's because they need something. And they need it now. And this is coming from the standpoint of someone who's in the home services industry, where, it is what it is. But that doesn't change the fact that if a customer's calling you, it's because they need something. They're not calling to chit-chat unless that's what your company is. And if that's your company, how do you monetize that? That sounds really cool. So, and this is coming from an introvert. I can chat with people all day, though. So, when they call, they need something. In our case, their water heater is busted, or their AC is bugging out in the middle of a heat wave, or their furnace isn't working, and it's like, this is California, so it's like 40 degrees when it gets cold, right? But cold is cold. Doesn't matter. They're not calling to chat. They're calling because they've got a problem and they need a solution fast. The question isn't, are we nice to them? The question is, are we keeping them coming back when the next crisis hits? And that's where the Pareto principle comes in. Now, you all know what that is. I don't have to really explain it, but because I feel that I have to, just in case someone's new here, right? It's also known as the 80-20 rule. Not in dating. That's different. Whatever. It's 80% of the results comes from just 20% of the causes, or 20% of the effort. In the contact center space, that means 80% of customer loyalty, retention, referrals, whatever, comes from about 20% of what we do on a call. Think about that. Think long and hard about that. Most of what you're grading in your QA checklist doesn't even move the needle a tiny bit. We don't need 1,000 things done right, or just all right. Yeah. We need the critical few things done well. So, I'm going to tell you a story now. I'm going to tell you 2 stories. And these are made up. Shut up. There's a agent named Sarah. She's one of the most seasoned vets, one of the agents that have been there the longest. She's the one that you sit people with when you have training and you don't want to train them anymore for the day, and you're like, just go shadow, right? So, she follows the script to a letter. She scores well on QA every time. The QA team raves about her scores. Her team lead raves and rants and praises her scores. But here's the thing. Sarah's calls. They're average at best. She's nice. She's efficient. She's doing her job. You can't complain about that, right? But she doesn't have customers calling back and asking for her by name, or having callers even remember what her name is. She's boring. She's boring, and her conversion rate when it comes to bookable calls to scheduled appointments is reflective of that, right? She bores people to tears, right? Her calls are about a minute to a minute and a half over what the average handle time should be. And I'm not a stickler for average handle times, as you guys all know. But, I mean, it shouldn't take 7 minutes to book a fucking call, should it? No. So, then there's Jackie. Jackie doesn't tick every boss. In fact, she doesn't give a shit about half of them. She can be a little rough around the edges. She doesn't always follow the script word for word. And she doesn't care if she's 5 seconds over the target handle time. Who gives a shit? But here's the kicker. Customers love her. Jackie is authentic. She listens. She solves problems. She empathizes. Empathy. Having empathy. She treats every call like it's the most important thing she's doing all day. And her customers, they remember her. They come back. They refer their friends. She has the booking rate of a rock star because she spends the time in that little bit of time that she has with the customers. She builds rapport because she doesn't stick to a script. She gets all the information that she needs in order to book the appointment. That's okay. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Sometimes it's a really quick phone call because that's what the customer wanted. The customer didn't want to answer 20 different questions. So she boils it down to the most important ones. So, that's the 20%. that'll give you 80% of the results. Now, of course, I'm not saying throw out all the processes and policies and scripts and all that jazz. No. That is stupid. We still need structure, and we have to hit targets, right? But we're drowning in things that don't really matter. Like an old mentor of mine said, I'm drowning in a puddle and thinking it's the ocean. When you drill down, there are just a few key behaviors that make or break the relationship with the customer. It's time to focus on those. The 3 big ones, let's set this out here. There's 3 big ones, and it's really simple. You'll never guess what they are. It's empathy, problem solving, and listening. Empathy. So empathy might sound soft. It might sound a little bubbly. It might sound a little, what's the word I can use? You get the idea. But in customer service, customer experience, it's everything. When that customer's sweating bullets because their AC is dead, they don't just want an answer. They want to feel heard. And this is actually really true. So they want to feel like we get it, like we're on their side. It's not just, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's basic bullshit. Empathy is saying, man, if my AC went out today, I'd be feeling exactly how you're feeling right now. Let's fix it. All right? Let's get somebody out there right now. When's a good time to work? What's a good time that works for you? Right? So, problem solving. So, customers don't call just to chit-chat. Right? Again, if you're in that kind of business, let me know how it works. Okay? Because that, again, sounds really, really freaking cool. So, when customers call in, especially in the home services, they're in crisis mode. I'm assuming that when they call your call center, they're in crisis mode as well, right? Whether it's about a bill or something else, right? What they care about is the solution. They don't want to just chit-chat. They don't want to make small talk. Small talk is awful. I hate it. I'm one of those people that when I go to get my hair cut, which admittedly isn't very often, my hair is like, yep, down past my chin now. So that's fun. But I usually just make eye contact with myself in the mirror and just, it is what it is. Leave me alone. Cut my hair. I'll tip you well. Don't worry about it. So, when they call in, they want a solution. They don't want chit-chat. They don't want small talk. I'm not saying that all customers don't like small talk. There are those out there. But keep it light, keep it breezy, and then go right back to the point of the call. So they want to hang up that phone call knowing that the issue is remedied, that it is fixed, that the next step in the process is going to happen, right? So the best way of helping a customer in the home services industry is to put them on the schedule. That's what the call center is there for. It's to take people who have issues and get them on the schedule while providing the best customer service possible. Period. All right? So, problem solving is about taking charge, owning the issue, and getting the job done. That's going to be like 30% of the score here, okay? So, listening. Listening is important. Active listening. A lot of people just wait for their chance to talk, right? Because we have the attention spans, thanks to TikTok and cable TV, of about 15 seconds or less. I think it's down to 6, actually, which is insane. But when I say listening, active, shut up and listen type listening. The customer shouldn't have to repeat themselves 5 times or feel like they're talking to a wall. Listening is how you catch the details, and the details are everything. It's not just about getting the issue right, it's about showing the customer that what they're saying matters, tying right back into empathy. Those 3 behaviors, empathy, problem solving, and listening, that's the 20% that drives the 80%. Focus on those 3 things. Because if you get those right, the customer doesn't care if you use the exact words on the script. They care that you gave a damn. All right? The customer doesn't know the script. They've never been trained on the script. They've never been trained on the call. You have. Your agents have. Let there be deviations from the script when the situation calls for it. So, don't. And some of you might be thinking, some of you old school people that I haven't convinced yet, right? You might be thinking, well, don't we need to check off all the boxes to pass QA? And that's exactly the point. We're checking all these damn boxes while we're missing the big picture. We're giving high scores on QA when honestly the calls sound like shit. We've got metrics for days, metrics up the ass, tracking everything from call time to phrasing. But if that customer doesn't feel valued at the end of the call, who cares about the damn checklist? Who cares if you hit every target? The real target is retention. It's customer loyalty. It's them calling back next year and saying, I trust you with my business. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to overhaul QA. I'm talking about a shift and focus away from the noise and towards what matters. When we're scoring these calls, 80% of the weight is going on the big 3. Empathy, problem solving, and listening. Yeah, we'll still mark down if you're way off script or ignoring basic protocols. Obviously, come on now. But we're going to recognize the agents who nail those 3 pillars because they're the ones who bring customers back. And this is what I want you to do. I want you to go back to the drawing board with your own QA scores and bring that focus there. Have your agents practice those big 3. Make empathy, problem solving, and listening more than just buzzwords. These are the high stakes skills. These are the difference makers. This is what you need to train on. Empathy or expressing empathy doesn't come easy for a lot of people. Listening, especially now, is hard. Problem solving, if you can't nail the other 2, you're never going to get problem solving. All right? So trim the fat, cut the fluff, and focus on what actually builds loyalty. The next time you look at QA reports, I want you to see a scorecard that reflects what matters. A scorecard that's not bloated with nonsense or 10 questions, because each question is worth 10 points and it's binary. So it's not bloated with nonsense, but laser focused on keeping the customer coming back. And at the end of the day, we're here to get results. We're here to build relationships that last. And we don't do that by following every line on a goddamn script. We do it by showing up, by being real, by being that 20% that actually makes a difference. And that's it. That's today's episode of CX Riot Radio. Go on, like, comment, subscribe, share the show so we can make the show grow. Buy my merch, buy my books. Bye.